It's 5 o'clock on the second Thursday of the month. It's time to call the library board meeting to order start with a roll call. Robin Anderson, Commissioner.
Present.
Leanne Hansen.
Here.
Tony Stukel.
I am here.
Larry Schwartz, that's me. Alana Rarick. Alana is not here. All right. Well, let us go to the agenda. And where is my agenda? Okay. Any public comment? Is anyone registered to comment publicly?
Nope, no
All
one
right.
registered.
Okay. I will take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I will make that motion.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Right. Everybody's had a chance to take a look at the library closure list. Okay. All right. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, then. The consent agenda has been approved. We move on.
Point of order.
Yes, sir.
Did we approve the order of the agenda?
No, we didn't. Thank you. I will take a motion to approve the order of the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the order of the agenda. Any comments, questions, concerns? All those in favor of the order of the agenda, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Moving on to the regular agenda. Is there any old business to discuss? I don't believe that there is. New business. We have a number of policies on which to take action. First is rescinding the equipment checkout policy. Jenna, could you throw that up on the screen and tell us about it?
Sure. And of course, like we were talking about earlier, all of the things moved. Okay, here's share.
Everything you know is wrong.
All right, are we seeing the memo?
Yes.
Okay. So, our team has been reviewing all of our existing library policies. And when we came across this one, we noted that we don't have iPads in our collection anymore. So that's why we're bringing this forward. The equipment policy pertains to the checkout of iPads, launch pads, and Ozabots and mobile hotspots. So it was put in place primarily due to the circulation restrictions we wanted to place on those iPads. Last year, the iPads were removed from our collection due to the age of the devices. They had just met their lifespan, as well as some real privacy and security concerns that had come to our attention, and also low circulation of that collection. So the remaining equipment that I mentioned, the launch pads, Ozabots, and mobile hotspots, are already covered by our circulation policy, which made this one redundant. And so we are recommending that the board rescind this policy.
I will take a motion to rescind the equipment checkout policy. Leanne, you're muted, but are you?
Yep, thank you. I'll make a motion to rescind the equipment checkout policy.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions, concerns about rescinding this policy? I think it makes sense, but that's just me.
I was going to ask, is this the whole policy or just that segment on iPads?
The whole policy, because within our circulation policy, it already covers all of this.
Okay. That would seem to make sense then.
Anything else? All those in favor of rescinding the equipment checkout policy, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. We have done that thing. Next up is the library cards policy. What's up with that, Jenna?
Yeah, so when the decision was made to grant free library cards to anyone living within the West Fargo Public School District boundaries, we couldn't have predicted how much those boundaries would change. It now includes Argusville, Harwood, Horace, Riley's Acres, and several densely populated neighborhoods in Fargo. These are communities currently included in our service area, which we do not get any monetary support from to provide the library services and collection items that we offer. So we're primarily looking at changing our service area within this policy to the West Fargo city limits and offering fee cards to the outlying areas. We would like to honor our established partnership with West Fargo Public Schools by continuing to offer free student cards to students enrolled, no matter where their permanent address is located. And we would also like to honor all existing cardholder agreements with individual patrons until their card expires, which happens every 2 years, so we can check their address and contact information. There's also a few minor language changes that are recommended, including updating a policy name and a job title in order to give us ample time for communication about the service area change and to notify existing patrons that we are recommending that the library board approve the updated library cards policy as presented with the procedural changes about who's eligible for that free resident card to be effective June 1st of 2025. And that you would direct staff to update similar language in any applicable policies. So as we continue to review, if we find a few words here and there, that we would just be enabled to make those small changes without having to bring the whole policy before the board.
So in order to keep things parliamentary, I will call for a motion to approve this policy before we discuss it. So that's what I'm going to do now. I would like to hear a motion on approving the library cards policy.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the library cards policy. Is there any discussion, questions, comments, concerns? Jenna, does this have anything to do with our electronic subscription, our subscriptions to electronic databases, where the publisher of the database would be concerned with the service area?
So we haven't had any of those companies bring it to our attention, but I know from negotiating some of those contracts that they look for the population of your service area often to determine what your subscription cost is. And it's supposed to be only offered to that service area. So sometimes we'll have like reciprocal borrowers from another library that aren't able to access some of those online resources. We'll get to a policy pertaining to that later in this meeting. But that wasn't a part of this particular change. It was more wanting to honor the financial contribution that residents of West Fargo are making towards keeping our library going and expanding our services and collection. And then the large number of people that are getting those services for free on that West Fargo taxpayer dollar.
How much is the charge for non-city residents then to apply for a card?
So if you live in Fargo, for example, you could get a Fargo card for free. And then we have a reciprocal agreement. So you would get a library card at West Fargo for free then due to that agreement. Same for all the Lake Agassiz Regional Library 7-county region. If you live beyond the boundaries of one of those communities that we have a reciprocal borrowing agreement with, such as Mapleton, Horace, Harwood, then it would be a $25 fee card. That card is good for 1 year. And gets you access to all kinds of things. It really is a deal. If you think of buying one hardcover book puts you over $25 at a
Mhm.
bookstore.
Any,
What is the communication plan in terms of starting to communicate this out?
So Ellen, our marketing and communications specialist, always sends a press release out on anytime we have a big change like this. So that would be the first thing. There will be continual marketing on our website, social media. We're also looking at different ways to use our email lists and to contact patrons whose cards might be expiring and would be in the service area through those lists that we have in Polaris.
Any talk of offering for West Fargo public school students? Like, I know it says 6th through 12th grade. Any talk of offering it to younger students too?
Yeah, so I have talked to West Fargo Public Schools about that. As far back as January. And when I connected with Superintendent Sleddy this summer, she indicated that they would like to go in that direction, but weren't ready to do that for this fall. So I'm optimistic that if we can get these kids through the end of this school year, that it would be expanded then through kindergarten
Okay.
in the fall at registration. That's part of why we chose that June 1st as a date to implement this change. We didn't want any negative effect for West Fargo Public School students.
any other questions, comments, concerns?
With the, if we do have, horse residents or whatever, and we're collecting that charge for the card, where does that, what fund does that money go into?
That just goes into our cash balance. Mhm.
We don't have a target for how much we'd like to, it's not a this isn't a money maker. Okay.
No, it's not a moneymaker.
I think it's probably barely recovering our
Oh,
cost of operation,
mhm.
but it's being more responsible, I think, to the West Fargo taxpayer.
I do have a question about the motion. Was the motion to include making that procedural change effective June 1st and that staff would be able to update similar language and applicable policies as written, or did you want to just approve the policy?
I think that the intent of the motion was to approve the policy.
And then would that be to make the service area change and procedures effective immediately?
Well, I would entertain a motion to amend the motion.
Make the
No.
original who made the original motion? Did I?
It was either you or Tony.
I think I might have.
Okay. So I will move to amend the motion to include language regarding effective date of the policy,
The effective date being June 1st?
the effective date being June 1st. So is there a second to that amending motion?
I'll second it again. I'll second the amendment.
Okay. Any discussion about that amending motion? Okay, so what we're going to do now is vote on that amendment, and then we can vote on the original, on the policy. So, any questions, concerns, comments about the amending motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, the motion has been amended to include the effective date. We'll move on now to voting on the policy, the library cards policy as amended. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Because the room where I am has a window that faces east, when you have a chance, you should poke your heads outside and take a look at the moon coming up.
You just
Okay.
behind the
Also,
clouds.
I'm concerned by the weather report at the bottom of Jenna's screen, which a few moments ago said possibly 1 inch of snow by Wednesday. I'm not in favor of that. And
A second.
okay, let us move on to the interlibrary loan and consortia hold policy. Jenna, what do you have to tell us about that?
So, like I said, we're continuing to review our policies and occasionally we find one. This is a great example where there is just a small language change needed to align with the terminology used in Polaris, our integrated library system that we use to check things in and out and keep track of our collection, and other policies and procedures. So in this case, we're looking to change the language out of area cards to non-resident cards, as we have in other policies. So the recommendation is to approve the updated interlibrary loan and consortia hold policy as written and direct staff to change out of area cards to non-resident cards in all other policies.
I will entertain a motion to that effect.
Move to approve.
And I will second that motion. Is there any further discussion, questions, comments? All right, all those in favor of adopting the new policy, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, Dandy. The reciprocal borrowing policy. Is this the same thing, Jenna? That looks like there's a deletion of terms of use or modifying language there.
Yep, a small modification of the language. So in this case, we mentioned the contracts that we have for online subscription services and databases earlier in this meeting. We offer a variety of these through contracts with the state library that they hold on our behalf, the North Dakota Digital Consortium, as well as our library individually contracts some of these services. They all have different times, different lengths, and different agreements. And because it changes so rapidly, it's hard to communicate with staff, let alone the public, what reciprocal cards in particular have access to. So we would like to change the language in this particular policy under terms of use to online services and digital collections are not guaranteed for reciprocal borrowers. Patrons are encouraged to use the online resources of their home library. So if I scroll down, it's just changing this language here.
Excellent.
We hope that gives us some flexibility and also helps the public understand that while sometimes we might have things available, other times we might not.
Okay, I will move to approve the policy as amended. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any questions, discussion, comments? So when Ellen does her marketing based upon the actions of this meeting, I think it would be a good idea to include in plain and simple language what we've done, including on this policy. Is that okay?
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Anybody? All right, the policy has been approved. let's talk about the director's report.
Always the highlight,
Spoiler-
right?
Spoiler alert, good.
Finances are looking great. We are 74% expended year to date. That's through the end of October. Certainly there are lots of big bills that come at the end of the year, but we are looking good.
Okay.
We had our staff day recently in October, which was really great to get together, all the teams together in the same place. We did fire extinguisher training. Travis Olson from the West Fargo Fire Department came over and helped us out with that. Everybody got to use the fire extinguisher. It was very fun. We also had question, persuade, refer suicide prevention training from NDSU Extension. The West Fargo Fire Department provided active shooter training. And then we had some specific library topics that we learned about as well. So how our collection development teams select books and some of their strategies. Technical services also led a session on the life cycle of a book. So once we have the book picked, how does it get here? When does it get here? What's the cataloging process look like? And then finally, bed bug information and procedures.
Boo.
Yeah, not fun, but we have really great strategies. If anything should happen, we are prepared. I'm also very pleased that the HVAC work in our south window is now complete. The new pipes that were installed have been wrapped with insulation and painted so that they blend in with the existing ones. We've had, through the end of October, 274.5 volunteer hours logged so far this year, and I think that is an underestimate. In particular, Danelle from the Friends of the Library spends a lot of time here sorting books and getting ready for book sales. And so I don't think she's logging all of her hours, but quite a few volunteer hours. We added some additional shelving in that south window area for the large print section. It was getting really crowded on those shelves, and it wasn't a matter of it needed to be weeded. Everything was being checked out. It's just a really popular collection that we have. So now we gave it some more space. I was working the desk a few days ago, and a patron came in and was checking out some books from the collection. And she was very concerned that with all the extra space we now had on the shelves, that we had gotten rid of a bunch of books. And it was fun to tell her, no, we made room for more. So that was pleasant. Also, just in looking at our statistics, October was just a really great month for the normal library services. Meeting room and offsite book drop usage were down a little bit compared to the rest of the year, but our circulation and program attendance just continues to trend upward. Speaking of circulation, total circulation this year so far is up 13% from last year and 47% from 2021. You may know that we have a puzzle exchange as well. This is just kind of a take one, leave one situation, but we do track how many come and go. And we've had 478 puzzles swapped through the puzzle exchange this year. Door count continues to be high. And then some highlights from our different departments. So our technical services team has been working on updating spine labels for the whole collection in the library. Currently, they're working on the junior fiction and nonfiction areas. And what they're doing is they're double checking all of the Dewey numbers to make sure that they're accurate. They're adding series information and replacing faded labels and just ensuring consistency across all of our collections. They're also working on regularly updating the carols that display new book covers on our catalog page to make sure those are always fresh. Outreach services made 2 kind of route stops in October. One was at Junkyard in West Fargo and one was at the Lights. Staff also participated in Treat Street on Cheyenne Street. And they have a little clicker, so they count how many people they interact with at the table. It was over 1,700 people that we interacted with at Treat Street. Youth Services had a great event that day as well. The Trick or Sweet Halloween party here at the library was popular. Attendance doubled from last year. And there were 347 people visiting the library. I happened to be here with my kids that day as well. And I heard some conversation from folks that for many families, this was their first time visiting the library. So fun to have a cool event like that to get them in the doors for the first time.
Did
I
they
also
get
saw
library cards?
Several families did get library cards, yes. From Adult Services, we're just wrapping up One Book, One Community. The author talk with William Kent Krieger that we had talked about at our last board meeting had over 675 people in attendance. Look how crowded that was. I heard rave reviews and that he spoke very lovingly about libraries and the work of librarians. 31 more people participated in adult events in October than the previous month. And we also had a 5-genre reading challenge that ended in October. There were 65 participants on that, and it was really well received. Technology tutoring services are expanding a little bit to include some of our senior home delivery spots. So we're trying this out. This has been a request for many years. To have an extra staff member go along to answer technology questions during the library visits at these spots. So we're trying to feel out what our capacity is to do that with our staffing levels, but excited to be expanding that service there. Until tomorrow, we have a really incredible veteran mask exhibit. This is part of an art therapy practice in the area for our veterans, where they make a mask about what's going on in their heads, dealing with PTSD and other things. It's really powerful. I encourage you to take a peek at that if you haven't yet. And upstairs in our activity hallway, we have an exhibit about rubella and the history of the big vaccination effort that took place. Interestingly, an immunologist from Africa, who I have a mutual acquaintance with, came to visit the library when this was up, and she was taking pictures of the exhibit and was very impressed that we were doing that. From marketing, we have 2 articles in the West Fargo Focus in November. We're continuing to put out information also about the hours change in January. So our efforts to inform the public about the service area change will look very similar to what's been done for the hours change that we made at our last meeting as well. So there was an article in the forum. We'll be sharing info at the circulation desk and on signage within the library, social media, email marketing, and handouts, continuing even after that change takes place. We'll also be obviously updating the recorded messages on our phones when people call in for the hours.
Have you gotten any kind of response about Sunday closing?
I haven't heard a single negative comment yet. Certainly there have been questions about it at the desk, and we have kind of a little cheat sheet of answers about the decision-making process behind that, so staff can answer those questions. And they've all been positive conversations that I've heard so far, with people understanding why we needed to make the change.
Okay, good to hear.
Our longer strategic plan survey should be going live on our website and in the library tomorrow. And that will be available through mid-December. it'll be available both in print and digital form. Here are a few pictures of what is happening at our satellite location. The kind of white strips on the ground there is where walls have been taken down. All that carpeting is going to be replaced in there with a carpet tile. And actually, it's much further along than when these pictures were snapped a couple weeks ago. They're working on the drywall right now.
I'll tell you, when I saw this slide, I was wondering what's going on. And I went into kindergarten in '58, you know, and I saw satellite construction. What are you guys into?
Got to keep ahead of the Ruskies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with that, I'll take any questions that the board might have about library happenings or anything from my director's report.
Anybody? Well, I will just,
You're building satellites. I'm impressed.
yeah. It's part of the technology team process.
We're working on getting all the furniture ordered for that site. So there will be some wall-mounted shelving around the outside. That order has been placed. The expected delivery date is January 20th. So it's looking like after we can get that all installed and set up, it's probably going to be February by the time we're opening.
I was going to ask that question. Okay.
Thank you extremely, Jenna, for your work, and please convey our respects and admiration to your staff. It's wonderful. Continue to be surprised, pleased every month with what I see in the impact report. Anything else for the good of the order? There was an article in the forum today about goings-on in Sargent County, at Sargent Central, I think it was, at their elementary school and their library there. So I urge you to take a look at that. Things turned out well. The kids are all right, but it was an interesting article. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded to adjourn. So thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate it. I will see you on our screens next month. Think about if you want to meet in person again. It was difficult for Robin to do it this time. I am ambivalent about it, but if it's the mood of the board to meet in person, at least we can hear each other here, right? I mean, that's one of my deals.
Yeah.
Yes.
I will interject that the chambers that are being fitted up at City Hall likely won't be ready until February as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dandy. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening. I'll see you later.
Happy Thanksgiving
Okay,
to all of
thank
you.
you.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, please. Yes. Bye.